welcome in everybody to the best damn pod in the land. Chad Stryker, Dan Dibjack. We're back. It's Friday, Buckeye Friday, man. Finally, we've made it to and through media days. We're at the football section of the actual football. It's not spring football. We're rolling up on fall camp. So, Dan, how you feeling? You excited? You ready?
Feel great, man. Super excited. We're Chris Spielman days away from kickoff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I saw somebody put Gabe Powers this morning too. So shout out to Gabe.
Is it bad I couldn't tell you what number Gabe wears?
36.
Obviously, I know now that you said that. So,
that's that Homer in me, man. Say, you pick on me about that, the glass half full guy. So I'm a Gabe Powers fan.
I've got a little bit of that in me with some of this recruiting nonsense that's going on.
Oh gosh, whatever. I'm so. I should take my own advice sometimes and just unplug from recruiting, because I get in like you. I get in these rabbit holes, and I'm like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. So,
I dabbed my toe into the political world of Twitter, and I'm jumping out. Jumping out as quick as I dabbed it in there. I'm not doing it. I don't need it in my life.
No, it's too much. So wanted to give you guys an announcement. We're calling this the Blitz to 500. And so as we barrel towards the season, Dan and I are trying to hit 500 subscribers by the time August 31st gets here, when the foot toe hits the ball against Akron. So we're a little over halfway there. We've never really made a subscriber push. It's not something that we even set out to do, but we found that we can do some more things on YouTube that would benefit everybody, and not just us. It would benefit the entire all of our subscribers. So once we get to 500, we are going to do a $50 gift card to Buckeye Corner to buy yourself some merch, some Ohio State merch. So what I'll do is I'll do a randomizer from 1 to 500 for all of our subscribers. And whoever that lands on, I'll reach out to you, either YouTube or Twitter, however, and get in touch with you and get you that gift card. So if you are interested in being part of the first 500, and we'll do something else for the 1,000 and all the other stuff. But right now we're calling it the Blitz to 500. So Dan, Blitz to 500, man. I saw you put it on Facebook. I put it out on Twitter. So we're heading that way. We're excited for no other reason than I think it'll be cool to do this for our loyal followers, subscribers.
Yeah, we appreciate the heck out of everyone that listens and follows and everything else like that, and participates in the comments. It really, if nothing else, it allows us to escape from real life, right? So
yes,
it's a nice break, but. If you look at the numbers, we're getting between 1,000 and 2,000 views per episode now. But the followers don't come anywhere close to that. So, if you're listening right now and you haven't subscribed, just hit that button. It takes 1.7 seconds. We really appreciate it. And, help us bring some more content out to you guys.
Yeah. And I wanted to just say the reason that we're asking for this is because we are doing something different than everybody else. We're not working with the beat at all, and so we're just fans doing fan stuff, and I feel like people need that outlet. I feel like this is an outlet for me to talk Buckeye football, and I know Chuck mentioned it today. His family said he probably wouldn't do it a month, and now he's blowing up. And so Dan and I started out doing this just for fun, and it's just to talk football. And so on that note, Dan, Saturdays in the fall, kind of a special announcement, I guess. We promised we were going to do more content. We are going to bring you more content in the fall. We are going to have the best damn reaction following every home game, or I guess every game. Late games, we probably may not be on at 1 a.m., but you never know. I'm wide awake anyway. So, but we're going to do an immediate reaction called the best damn reaction. Right? Is that what we named it?
I think so.
Yeah. Best damn reaction after each game, and kind of, I know there's channels do it too, but we're going to go live for 15 minutes and take your questions after each game here on YouTube. So a couple big things happening there. And Dan, I don't know about you, but After I listened to Juck today, I'm so proud of him. What a cool thing. Just wanted to give him a quick shout out because we're friends and he comes on our show, and really cool for him to link up with Menace.
Yeah, good for him. He's going to be joining Menace. He's going to be posting his daily episodes at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday on the Menace platform.
Yep.
He's still going to be doing some of his own content on his own channel in the evenings and on the weekends and live streams and stuff like that. So they're allowing him some autonomy, I guess is the right word for that. And I've become friendly with Chris, and I think Chris is a really, really good guy. I think he's uber talented, and him and Juck have a good chemistry. And they extended the invite, and Juck took him up on it. And
that's fantastic.
Be more excited for him and proud of him for it. Those guys supported him quite a bit when he first started out, and it's good. It's a good matchup. It'll be a good balance over there.
Yeah, proud of you, buddy. All right, getting into football. Big Ten Media Days are over, Dan. Do you have any thoughts overall? I have a few, but about it doesn't have to be about anybody. Like I know in our notes I wrote a few things about Ryan Day, but how are you feeling?
I mean, the biggest comment that irked me more or less was, man, Lincoln Riley is an arrogant guy. That I'm sure that's not shocking to think
it's not
that a college football coach at USC or a school like that would possibly be arrogant or have ego, but
shocking.
He kind of took offense to, I don't know, man. He kind of talks out of both sides of his mouth. He seems to make a lot of excuses, but then also want to talk a big game at the same time. And, the one comment he made was, he's like, well, look at Oregon and Ohio State 2 years ago. Where were they? Things can happen quick. I'm like, okay, well, I know 2 years ago, Oregon had to replace their coach. And they were, rather inconsistent, and they haven't really won anything. But why? What did you mean by us? Like, what do you mean? Where were we 2 years ago? We were
the college football playoff.
We were a year removed from playing for the national championship and a field goal away from winning another one. That's where we were. Where were you, Lincoln? Where was your defense? Don't act like we were out there in the pasture with your defense of scheme. Come on, buddy. What is that all about?
I wonder
it's
if
kind of a clown comment.
Well, I'll play devil's advocate because I heard it and I thought maybe that was a shot at that 2020 team, the Kerry Combs defense that just got absolutely decimated by Alabama. Well, criminy, we had Enoch Vimahi playing defensive tackle. That's how thin we were. But in that game, the Togi guy's on the bus. He's not on the bus game, but none of that would have mattered. That we were just that didn't matter. But
all right. So if if he was talking about where were we 2 years ago defensively, all right, I'll give him that.
Yeah, I just maybe I don't know. I mean, we all know that Kerry Combs.
Probably listen. I've said it a million times. I'm not always right, but I'm never wrong. So I have no problem admitting when I might be off base here, and maybe that's what he meant. Yeah. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I didn't like Sharon Moore's speech because he basically copied the previous coach at Oregon speech when he accepted the job and said all the same things. So
I saw the one clip with the enthusiasm.
Oh yes,
unknown to mankind. I gotta be honest with you, bro, and I'm not too proud to admit this. I freaking love that. I love that phrase. I've used it with my sales teams.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm not too proud to say, hey, listen, man, that's pretty good.
Still with pride, said, maybe I don't know.
I was trying to wonder. He used Willie Taggart's speech, but did Willie Taggart ever coach under the Harbaughs? Because he probably, if he got it from him, and I think Taggart. If Taggart, Taggart, I think stole that from somebody.
I thought Willie Taggart coached at Michigan State though, but maybe I don't know. I can't say that I understand all the lineage of every coaching tree. I thought Ryan Day, bringing it back to the Buckeyes, seemed cool, calm. Seems like he's got a secret and he's the only one that knows it. That was kind of like when I was watching him, and I felt this the last couple of times I've watched him. Like it's almost like he's got this. It's almost like he knows something that nobody else knows, and it's a pretty big thing, and then sooner or later everybody's going to learn about it, whatever that is. but he seemed confident about the offensive line. Thought it was interesting that he specifically called out Carson Hinsman a couple of times. Mentioned him, mentioned Luke, mentioned might have been Tegra as well. Said Josh Fryers had the best summer. Same thing we heard coming out of spring. So I don't know. That was the way it struck me. Like he just seemed very at peace with where they are. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, he certainly feels confident. There's
Maybe confident.
one thing that he said that's going viral at this point, especially with our rivals, that I just didn't like. Like, I wish he would stop saying, coulda, shoulda. It just, I just don't like it.
Okay.
Like, so for him to have said we should have won that game last year, well, dude, we didn't.
Yeah.
And we haven't for 3 years.
Yeah.
So stop saying it, shut your mouth, and go out there and beat them.
Yeah.
Having said that, yeah, he seems very confident. Man, I can't imagine what it's like having Chip in that room with him and the things that they're scheming up.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard it from one of the parents that, Chip's run schemes are just crazy.
Yes.
Like he's really dialing up some really interesting stuff. And I mean, Chip's got to be like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
He's never had this talent at the college level.
So someone tried to counter that argument. It was an Oregon fan during the Mariota year that he won the Heisman. And then somebody basically said, you do realize you played us in that game and Ezekiel Elliott made you guys look like you were a high school football team. And so, yeah, he's had some talent, like without a doubt. LeGarrette Blount, it unfortunately flamed out, but Mariota really didn't translate to the NFL. Like their scheme was good, but the talent level, the disbursement of talent, it's not centralized in one or two areas on the offense. So yeah, I mean, you've got probably two of the top 500. Well, not probably. You have two of the top 5 running backs in college football on the same team in the same backfield this year. So, yeah, I think it's good. I don't know. It just Ryan Day seems different this year, and maybe it's because he's now gone into truly being the CEO, and and maybe he's finding himself a little bit too as a football coach. He was the first time head coach. So maybe he's finding himself, finding his groove, finding his comfortability level in talking to the media. Because when he first started, he definitely was the rosy cheeked assassin. Like didn't say much. He was just an offensive dude. So
yeah, there's one thing that. And we can talk about this more another time, but because it's going to come out throughout the year. But man, there's one phrase that I wish they would eliminate from their vocabulary.
What's that?
And I don't know why this. Well, I know why this irks me, and I'm going to explain why it irks me. I freaking cannot stand the phrase matchup game. I can't. I don't like it. I hate it. When I hear it, this is what I hear. When I hear him say matchup game, that's become prevalent over the last couple of years. When I hear that come out of his mouth, I imagine him getting tight. I imagine him getting conservative.
Okay.
I imagine him playing for the last drive of the game. And so I did hear him say that, they need to remove all doubt this year.
Yeah.
Which I like.
That
and I think that
no shit category.
I think that contradicts
the
matchup game phrase. But man, when I hear the matchup game, it tells me that they're going to let the other team dictate what they do, and they're going to adjust to the other team rather than making the other team adjust to us. I just don't like the sound of it. It makes me think of Harbaugh's khakis getting tight when he was on the opposite sideline of Urban Meyer. So I just don't like it.
That's interesting. That's an interesting take. So when I hear that, I hear the talent equates. And so when the talent equates, the better prepared team will win. But that's the Urban Meyer in me, because that's an Urban Meyer thing. When talent equates, the better prepared team will win. So I get it. I can see that. And then I wanted to get your take. I know this has probably been talked about a lot, but I just loved it because you and I talked about on Tuesday how Denzel Burke will just say whatever comes in his mind because he's just that guy. And that's why we love Denzel Burke. So he said, I didn't come back for no BS. And I told the guys that.
Yep.
So, firstly, that needs to be a shirt. Someone make that shirt, please. And then secondly, no, he didn't. I mean, it would be one thing for Jack Sawyer to come back to improve his draft stock, hometown guy, wants to beat Michigan. Denzel Burke, he was going to be a top 32 pick.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, he's going to be a leader on that team for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he speaks on behalf of all those guys that came back, right? I
Yeah.
just, you know, I want to see a little bit more dog, you know, out of them. I want to see, I don't know who the Curtis Grant is on this team that's going to, you know, grab these guys by the neck in the locker room if it's a tight game and they're not playing well and wake them up. You know, who is it?
I was going to guess it. Huh?
Is it Iggy?
I was going to say Cody Simon.
I don't think Cody's
He's been around a minute.
I know, but I'm just.
Yeah. Iggy could be that way too. He's fiery. Denzel's fiery. So the other thing I wanted to ask you on that is I keep hearing this thing, unfinished business. No kidding. You have unfinished business or you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So it bothers me. Like that bothers me. I don't know why. It's like your thing about the matchup. Like I hate it. No, like we know we all of us know, every Buckeye fan knows because doggone it, like, you know, we play, you know, the Peach Bowl against Georgia was the de facto national championship. We lost to Alabama in the national championship. You know, we've been in a college football play more times than any other team, but we only have one national championship since 2014. So yeah, there's a lot of unfinished business. Let's finish it. I don't talk about it. Too much talk.
I don't have that much of a problem with that, basically, because, you know, the question was asked, you know, why'd you come back? Which,
yeah, I know.
Unfinished business is fair. As long as they don't turn that into a revenge tour.
Okay, fair.
Mantra.
Yeah.
Then I'll let that one roll off my back.
Maybe that's why that bothers me so much, because of the revenge tour thing. All right. So Big Ten Media Days wrapped up. I know that there were a couple funnies that happened, especially with Deshaun Foster not having any kind of a statement at all prepared, except for apparently we don't know much about them. And then they're in LA with USC. So,
I mean,
okay,
Deshaun, dude, thanks. That was so painful.
It was bad.
So painful. And then he tried to explain it away in a breakout session after that. And he's just like, you know what, man? Like, I played. I don't need to speak. Well, no, you're the coach, bro.
Yeah.
You need to be able to speak. You need to be able to get up in front of the team and talk to them. You need to be able to get in front of, you know, boosters and administration and talk to them. You need to be able to, you know, rally the troops. Like, I wasn't buying that. That was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah. There were a few, you know, I know Signetti tried to pull a Jim Tressel almost. And so there were some interesting things at Media Day this year. Sometimes they're really boring and it's all like, yes, we're here and we will fight and we're going to end up going.
A lot of big personalities, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, probably more so than in any time that I can remember in the Big Ten.
Yeah. I think you
got some huge personalities.
Oh, huge egos. Yeah. And I think might have been Mark. It was either Mark Givler. I think it was Mark Givler tweeted that he was sitting next to some national journalist and that had just come over and for Big Ten Media Days. He's like, that PJ Fleck I like him. He's got a lot of fire. It just.
Yeah, well, Jr. actually posted that he leaned
Oh, it
over
was
and said
Jr.
that
Yes.
that
Okay.
PJ
Yes.
Fleck
Yes.
guy is pretty impressive, and I was like, you spelled goofy wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's a very eloquent linguist. He
Listen,
would be a good speech writer.
I think he's perfect for Minnesota. He's
Yeah.
perfect for Minnesota. Like, I don't think his shtick would work
Yeah.
at a big time program.
Yeah. I had done a podcast before you and I joined forces at the start of last year. And I went on, it was Buckeye Mike's podcast, and he asked me if Ryan Day was on the hot seat and then who I would replace him with. And one of his top guys was PJ Fleck. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. But yeah, so anyways. All right. So Big Ten Media Days wraps up. Recruiting's kind of in a slow-ish period right now today.
A little bit of news that threw everybody into a tizzy last night.
Oh man, listen.
David Sanders.
Yes. Listen, guys, I need you to hear me when I tell you this. I don't like that we're not doing a year-end or end of summer party. I don't like it. It bothers me. Yes. But I also know that David Sanders and his family have seen everything they need to see in Columbus. They've checked every single box. They've answered all of their questions. They've been here multiple times. And yeah, should we have done something to kind of be on the defensive? Sure. I don't think he would have come up here anyway, because there's not enough time to go to Lincoln and Knoxville from Charlotte and do all three. So there's something a little funky about the Nebraska thing. I haven't quite put my finger on it, but if you wanted me to put it on a scale of like 1 to 10, it's like a 2 for the Lincoln Nebraska thing. But there's something just weird about it. It's just odd to me that they, it's them and not Clemson. But I still think he ends up in the class. So I'm at like 68%.
Yeah. So a couple things on wrap there. Number one, JR and Chris talked last night about they think that we are having something. It's just very informal. And rather than bringing in a bunch of uncommitted guys, it was going to be more commitment centric with a couple high priority guys sprinkled in. And it was going to be very low key.
Well, Ziggy Grady doesn't know about it if that's the case.
Well, I mean, I haven't heard about that. So I don't know where they got that from. I mean, I trust Chris a lot on his sources, but I haven't heard that at all. Like, that's the first time I heard that. With that being said, I do think that it's a big miss on Ohio State's part not to have something this week, not to have all of the guys that are committed here along with the remaining targets. I just don't understand why they wouldn't do that. As far as him going, not coming to, I mean, I posted about this yesterday. His family's been incredibly thoughtful. And throughout this entire process, leading into this about a week or so ago, his father was quoted that, we're not sure if there's going to be any visits. Like, David might feel like he's seen everything he needs to see at this point. If we do visits, he did say that Ohio State would be on the list. So the fact that it's not happening tells me that this is my take on it. I think we're at the top. I'm not sure it's that close. I think he's seen everything he needs to see at Ohio State, and he's only been to Nebraska once. And, he just wants to go ahead and confirm what he thinks he already knows.
Yeah.
And make sure he didn't miss anything. And Ohio State's got a reputation of encouraging these guys to make sure they're 100% positive before they commit.
Yep.
So I don't know. Maybe that's me being naive. The Nebraska thing it's just weird because it goes against everything that you heard was important to him in regards to distance from home. I don't think they've got a good medical program for after his career's over. What they do have is a rabid fan base. and they do have some money set aside for somebody like him, it seemed to really be impactful that he was informed he's the highest rated recruit to ever step on campus at Nebraska. Like, it was his mom or his dad made a comment that they were really surprised when they were told that, and it seemed to be impactful. You never know, man. With these recruitments, the littlest, strangest, most irrelevant thing could turn the tide.
Yeah,
I just think we're in a really, really, really good spot with him. I don't think any of this changes it. The fact that this is his 7th visit this year to Tennessee and his 5th since April was a little surprising. There's a lot of there's a quote out there about him talking about how their staff has been the best in communicating with him and keeping in touch and contact and stuff like that. I think a lot of people, that was very deceiving. That comment was made in May.
Yeah.
Okay. That comment wasn't made this week.
Right.
So, and we didn't really turn on the gas until about May with him. So I'd be shocked if our communication has not been, as good, if not better than everybody else since that time frame.
Yeah. Another one that I was going to ask you about, so everybody's on David Sanders, is Jamie French. So, we still have room for a couple wide receivers in this class, probably 2. There's been no movement there, and his crystal ball is still, split with us in Texas, I believe, when I looked yesterday. And my feelings on him. I think he just reminds me of Ben Victor, but reminds me and then actually are 2 different things. So is he slow playing this?
Here's all I know about Jamie French is that Jamie French has been on the Ohio State campus way more than anybody realizes on unofficials. He's been around campus. He's been around the Ohio State campus a lot that nobody even knows about. That's the only thing that I can confidently say about Jamie French's recruitment.
Okay.
I do think it's interesting that we just threw out an offer to Jordan Miles out in Utah.
Yeah.
5-star kid.
Yeah.
A bigger body, 6'3", 220.
Yeah, he's a big kid.
Played at the same high school that Devin and came from, and Jackson Dart and
Carter
Wilson
Canyon,
brothers.
right? Or something like that.
Corner Canyon,
yeah.
Yeah. Good nationally ranked program. I think they're in the top 10 again to start the season this year.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a really good coach out there.
I liked his film. I watched quite a bit of his film, probably 40 minutes of it. And I thought, like, his separation. Now, everybody's going to say, well, it's Utah. Okay, fine. All right. I'm not going to argue with you there. But, like, when he puts his foot in the ground and takes out, like, he has clear separation in the secondary. Like, there's no hesitation. And I was trying to gauge too, like, how fast is he? And I think it looks like he has very long strides. And so, yeah, I like the kid. I think that he would be a great addition to the class. Especially getting in this late on him, and Ohio State can do that. They can afford that. They have the ability to do that. And then I did see where also Phillip Bell, who we've talked about, seems to be a heavy USC lean now as far as wide receivers go. So anybody else you have your eye on, or it's kind of the same old same?
I mean, the Josh Petty smoke is interesting.
They're not, whatever.
I mean,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that.
No, it's all right. I mean, it's just interesting, right? That it's kind of heating up again.
I don't believe it.
I mean, when you look at his final 5, it's random.
Yeah.
He's a smart kid.
Yeah.
So he's got, Stanford and Georgia Tech in there, along with us in Florida State. And I think the 5th one is at like UCF maybe?
Yeah, UCF is in there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, we're sitting at what, 24?
Yeah, 24 commits.
And you're hearing that, we're going to end up with 28, 29, maybe 30.
Yeah, they want. Somebody made the assertion that we could end up with 32, and I don't believe that. But
I mean,
I'm
if
not.
you start going through the names, it's possible, right?
Yeah.
I
Well, yeah,
mean,
possible,
but
not probable.
it might be necessary.
Hmm.
You know.
Okay. Well, it's been it's been funny, and I feel like too, because of the recruiting dead period, everybody's like, kind of looking at the tea leaves, if people like to say, and so we'll see what shakes out over the next 2 or 3 weeks, right before we kick off the season. So, obviously David Sanders has his commitment on the 17th, and a couple of the other ones are later in the month. So we'll see. Now I'm going to switch to our favorite topic. Just kidding, but kind of our favorite topic lately. The letter from Pettiti to Michigan re Jim Harbaugh. Um, so what I want to read this and I want to get your thoughts. So
Okay, can we set the table though, real quick?
Go for it.
Okay, this letter came out during the season.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, another podcast like made it seem like it was just released this week and spent 2 days talking about it. And they broke it down really, really well.
Yeah.
But like this is old info.
It is. But everybody ignored it.
Yeah,
I don't feel like we even addressed it.
Well, it got like a week or I mean it came out during the season.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You and I weren't, doing this then. I mean, I've known about this letter forever.
Yeah.
And I go to it often when yeah, so go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that, Pettiti was asked about it at Big Ten Media Days. And so, and he basically came out and said, I would have done everything the exact same way and I wouldn't change anything without saying it. And people were like, oh, Michigan fans were just like beside themselves that how dare you, and then, of course, Ward Manuel gets like administrator of the year or some ridiculous crap like that. I'm like, okay, so you've got a pedo on your team. You've got a cheater on your team. Your whole staff just left you, but you're the admin of the year.
Dude, that's just football.
Yeah.
You've got a head basketball coach who just got fired, who was, at least under 2 circumstances, punched another staffer. You've got a sexual assault scandal within your hockey program. I mean, that was mind blowing to me that he got that award.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Maybe it's
course,
a thank you.
All these knuckleheads up north are going to hang their hat on and say, "Oh, see, nothing's going to happen to us because he would have never got that award."
Yeah,
it was very, very interesting to me. I don't think it means that.
Yeah,
it was just
So I think there were a couple things. So one of the lines I pulled out from the letter because of all this ruckus is when sportsmanship issues, including the integrity of competition, are implicated by the offensive conduct, the commissioner is authorized to use the procedures and authority prescribed by the sportsmanship policy, even if the offensive conduct also may involve a violation of NCAA or conference rules. And then Pettiti wrote Friday that the Big Ten has not received any information about other schools. So you can drop the Ryan Day's catapult nonsense because it's not true. Using impermissible advanced in-person scouting, let alone a scheme of the size and scale like the one at issue here. Okay. Dan, Pettiti basically just didn't back down. He basically said, I did the right thing. Stop complaining about it. There's more coming.
Yeah, no. I mean, here's the deal. The Big Ten's hands were tied in season.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they wanted to do something, or even if the NCAA completed their investigation and wanted to hand down sanctions, it would have never got resolved during the season based on the current bylaws.
Yeah.
Those current bylaws require a notice of allegation to be issued to the offending university,
mm-hmm.
and then that university has 90 days, up to 90 days, to respond. So even if they issued an NOA during the season, Michigan would have obviously slow played it until after the season. They have not yet done that. however, it is coming. It's going to happen. But a couple things people need to remember. We've touched on this before. I think it was in December when the NCAA released all their new rules.
Right.
They passed a little known bylaw that said that allows them to now hand out preliminary sanctions prior to the end of an investigation being completed if the evidence is overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, if anybody thinks it's a coincidence that rule was passed on the heels of this scandal, then they're just not very smart. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, that was the first Michigan rule that came out from the NCAA. The second one was the, leniency for cooperating thing that we discussed about a month or so ago. So yeah, I mean, the letter, I mean, it was 13 pages and it laid out everything that they'd already discovered at that point. And, according to, people that are involved with this right now, like the evidence just keeps getting more and more. Like that's one of the reasons the NOA hasn't been issued yet, is that every time they think they're done, something else comes up.
Yep. Yeah. I think it was, I thought the important thing for me to reiterate to people, because now you see it getting retreaded because this has popped back up about just wait till the stuff about Ryan Day, Pettiti literally said, they have not received any information about other schools using impermissible advanced in-person scouting. So
the catapult story was a election style myth.
Yeah.
That was put out there into the U-verse.
Yeah.
It was immediately debunked. It never even mentioned a team. It was the Michigan people that assumed it was Ohio State or said it was Ohio State. It was immediately debunked, and there is zero evidence of anything like that happening.
Yeah. Well, I wrote this in our notes on purpose because I wanted to say it this way. It's obvious here. Michigan was caught dead to rights, and they tried acting like a petulant child and blaming everything but themselves because they didn't want to take accountability. So congratulations, I guess. You're going to be held accountable no matter what. And I always use this for fun. You want to play the foosball? The chickens are coming home to roost. Well, in this case, it's not Jimmy anymore, Sharon. So you're going to lose all your fancy foosball games from the water boy. So yeah. All right. As promised, we can leave that. We can put that one to bed now. I have the Nebraska football schedule for 2024, and we are going to walk through it. Oop. Well, I guess you're going to see what I chose. I thought I sent myself the regular version, but all right. So I guess we can agree or disagree. So Nebraska 2024 schedule. This is where I landed, Dan. So University of Texas, El Paso, even though I like that football team because they're the Roadrunners and they have really cool uniforms, I have them Nebraska winning that game at home in Lincoln.
Yeah, I am much more bullish on Nebraska than you appear to be.
Okay.
So yes, I've got them winning that as well.
And then a win against Colorado at home in Lincoln, close, like 2 points.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you need to remember about Nebraska is I think they had like 6 or 7 losses last year that were 7 points or less.
Mm.
In Matt Rule's first year, and they didn't have a quarterback. I mean, people at this point, if they're paying attention, they know how much, I really, really like Matt Rule.
Yep.
I'm not sure that game's as close as people as you're saying. I think this might be a statement game for Nebraska.
I'm saying they win. I just think
I don't know if you can really have a statement game against Colorado just because it's early season.
I'm just saying I think a healthy Travis Hunter and a healthy Shedeur Sanders and a upgraded offensive line. I don't think Colorado is going to be great, but I don't think Nebraska is great either. I do think Matt Rule's a better coach, so that's why I gave them the W at home. Northern Iowa, walk in the park. So another win. Yeah. And then Illinois at home. And I gave Brett Bielema the nod here. I think Illinois is going to be better than people think. I think they probably are on the verge of an 8-4 season. And I think they hand Nebraska their first loss on a field goal late in the game.
I've got Nebraska winning that game.
Okay. So, and then at Purdue, I think they dog walk Purdue big in West Lafayette and come away after losing to Illinois, winning big at Purdue.
Agreed.
And then I have them losing to Rutgers. Rutgers is my surprise 10-2 team from the Big Ten this year. I know it's at home in Lincoln, but I think Rutgers gets it done in a fairly high-scoring game.
I know you're bullish on Rutgers. If this was in the
Piscataway
Garden State, I would say New Jersey's a Garden State, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Concrete Gardens. I don't know. I've never understood that.
Piscataway.
I'm going to go with Nebraska because they're at home.
Okay. And then at Indiana in Bloomington, I know Signetti's come in and he's trying to hype up the team. I don't know who their quarterback is, and I have a hard time seeing them win more than 5 games this year. So I have Nebraska winning that one.
Yep, me too. I've got them undefeated going into the Ohio State game.
And then I have them at Ohio State in Columbus with a loss, and I think it's a big loss. I think they get lose by 3 scores.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be coming off the Oregon game, but we've got a bye.
Yep.
We're off on the 19th. So, you know, I'm going to say Ohio State wins the Oregon game. I'm going to say it's going to be a matchup of unbeatens that late in the season. I think that's our night game.
It'll be a night game.
Unless if they're both unbeaten, I'd have to see what the other matchups are. I could see Big Noon picking it up, which would irritate the heck out of me. But
I think we figured out that Oregon and USC is that week. The week we played Nebraska.
That won't be a Big Noon kickoff.
Okay, that's fair.
Because that's West Coast.
Yeah,
right?
that's the West Coast.
That would be a 9 a.m. local time, unless they want to justify it.
I think we looked it up, but don't quote me.
Yeah, unless they want to justify that they're both West Coast teams, so they can force that on them. But I don't. I know the Pac-12 played some like 12 o'clock games.
Trying to get exposure.
12 Eastern games last year, but they usually weren't high-profile games. Yeah, I mean, I think Ohio State makes a statement in that game coming off of the – if that was – let me put it this way. If there was no bye after Oregon, I think that would be a really dangerous game. But I think with us having a bye after the Oregon game, they'll be locked in and focused on it.
Yeah. UCLA at home in Lincoln – I think Nebraska gets back in their winning ways, and I think they take UCLA out behind the woodshed, and UCLA finds out what Big Ten football is all about in November in Lincoln and wins that one handily.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I have them losing at USC, and man, I almost gave them a win. I think if it was at home in Lincoln in November, I would have had them winning. But I think in this case, going to LA, I think they lose in the Rose Bowl, and but not a terrible loss. I think USC is probably at this point beat up. They're not used to Big Ten play, and Nebraska is going to run the rock, and I think they'll keep it close.
What game are you on?
USC.
So you've got Nebraska losing to USC.
Yeah, close.
Even though you're saying USC is going to be beat up.
Yeah, I like I said, if it was in Lincoln, I would take Nebraska, but since it's at the Rose Bowl, I have USC winning close.
Yeah, I'm gonna say they win that game only because they've got a bye the week before.
And then Wisconsin comes to town. I am bullish on Wisconsin and Luke Fickell this year. I think Wisconsin gets it done. Old-fashioned Big Ten football game, smash mouth. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a low-scoring affair, and I think Wisconsin wins.
Man, I'm really bullish on Matt Rule this year. I think they beat Wisconsin at home.
Okay. And then the last game is at Iowa in Iowa City, rivalry game. And I have this one being like 13-9 or something, man, like late in November at Iowa. But a loss nonetheless for Nebraska and finishing at 6-6. Sounds like you have them at about 9-3, Dan.
No, I've got them. I've got them with a loss to Ohio State.
Okay.
I had them winning the next three, which means they've got one loss going into the Iowa game, so they're playing for a shot in the conference championship.
Oh yes, you did. I for some reason I thought you had them losing to USC. Okay.
I've got them losing at Iowa and finishing with 2 losses and just missing out on the Big Ten championship.
Okay. Yeah, you're a whole lot more bullish on them than I am then.
I just think, they lost so many close games last year. They've got most of their defense back. I think they're going to have a top 10 defense.
Okay.
I'm bullish on Rule. I'm not a fan of Raiola, but I think he's going to thrive under Rule.
I don't there's your that part of me that that about me that I don't see success for a freshman quarterback. It's just such a different game, and there was so much weird stuff around Raiola. I think he's going to struggle. I think he's going to struggle with the speed of the game, the talent of the game. I mean, he moved to 3 different high schools in 4 years.
4 high schools in
4 high schools in 4 years. I'm not saying the kid's not uber talented, but I just think that asking a freshman to start, it's the same thing we've talked about with Julian Fleming. Asking a freshman to start is incredibly difficult.
Julian Sane.
What did I say? Julian Fleming. He's on my mind because I just read an article about him having a chip on his shoulder. So, but other than that, yeah, I think that, I think it's going to be, I like Matt Rule. I think year 2 under Raiola and Matt Rule, I might be a little more inclined to agree with you, but I know it's the same thing with me and Rutgers. So I'm sure you're like, yeah, Chad's got Rutgers at 10-2, like a crazy person. So,
Rutgers misses the top 5 preseason Big Ten teams.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. So they don't have Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, or Iowa on their schedule.
And some people wonder why I said they go 10-2. Their schedule, man. If Ohio State played that schedule, the media would be absolutely livid. Like they would be losing their ever-loving mind. They'd be like, just give them the trophy.
Yep.
So, anyways. Yep. All right, guys. Well, that's probably going to do it for us today. I am on vacation next week, so this won't look like that. I'll be unfortunately, that stayed up north in the Finger Lakes, but we'll still be doing the show. We'll just be doing it. I'll be doing it remotely. And other than that, if you could, don't forget, if you're still with us, like and subscribe. Congratulations again to Chuck. Dan, any final words from you, man?
No, that's it. I'm looking forward to the weekend and one day closer.
Yeah. And if you guys didn't know, Dan and Matt Rule are cousins. So just kidding. Just kidding.
Not true.
Yeah, it's not true. All right, guys. You guys stay safe. Have a good weekend. And as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.